Hey Manna fam, welcome back as we're sharing testimonies from across our short-term missions trips this year in 2024. This morning we're going to hear about the principles of spiritual warfare that Paul touches on in Ephesians 6:20 and how they can be applied not just while on the mission field, but in our everyday lives. Let's take a look.
This year, I had the pleasure of going on my first mission trip to Panama, and I learned a lot on this trip, but the last day taught me something that I will never forget. As a team, we were praying for 100 salvations for the whole trip, and going into the last 3.5 hours of the last day, we had 79 salvations. We were instructed to go into a completely untouched neighborhood where we had no leads on what houses to stop at. We were essentially just doing cold calls, going up and knocking on doors and not really knowing what's on the other side. So with only 3.5 hours and no idea who to talk to, we set out in completely unfamiliar territory with only one weapon in our arsenal: prayer. Our group prayed that God would not only bring us the right people, but also give us the right words to say. And this is exactly what you find Paul saying in Ephesians 6:19 through 20, where he says, "And pray on my behalf, that speech may be given to me and the opening of my mouth to make known with boldness the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, that in proclaiming it I may speak boldly as I ought to speak." So guided with the presence and the power of the Holy Spirit, we set out, and only 3 hours, get this, 23 people gave their lives to Jesus. I think back on this and I'm just in awe of what God can do in response to such a simple prayer. And I remember on that day, God spoke to me a lesson that I will never, ever forget. He said, "Bryson, you don't have to wait till you're in Panama to pray that prayer." Manna Church, every day we can ask God to bring the right people into our lives so that we may boldly proclaim the gospel and advance his kingdom wherever we go.